Hello everybody and welcome back to another brainstorm. Today we're going to be talking about cancer in preparation for GCSE biology. I'm going to be splitting this video up into three main parts. First we're going to talk about what exactly are tumours and what's their effect on the body. Then we'll talk about what is the cause of cancer, and we'll wrap it up by talking about how is cancer treated in modern day medicine. So let's get into it. Alright, so usually when we consider cancer, we're considering a tumour as well. So here's the definition of a tumour. So a tumour is the rapid and abnormal growth of cells without control. Without control being the most important part here. Because as we know, cells in the body, they usually grow and divide via a process known as mitosis, and this produces two genetically identical cells, unless we're talking about gametes, of course. But in the tumour's case, we usually see a mutation or damage to the genetic information inside of this cell, and this causes it to grow rapidly and without control. So we have two different types of tumours that we're going to talk about in this video. We have, first of all, a benign tumour. So a benign tumour, again, is a growth of abnormal cells, as seen with most tumours. But what's characteristic about this type of tumour is that it's only contained in a single location. So for example, this tumour may grow inside of a tissue or specifically a membrane in the body, which is where we most commonly see our benign tumours. But if it grows inside tissue X, it will only ever be in tissue X. It can't go to tissue Y, for example. And we'll talk about a tumour that does in a second. But what these benign tumours do is they grow very, very large in a very, very short space of time. And this is where the danger stems from. Because what can happen is this benign tumour may be growing here, but it causes pressure and thus damage indirectly to other bodily cells. This is most dangerous in areas of the body like the brain, where there already isn't much space for a tumour to grow anyway, and this added pressure can cause great damage. But more importantly, these benign tumours are a non-cancerous tumour, which means that the tumour itself doesn't cause any harm to the body and is usually of little medical concern. It's very easy to treat, very easy to get rid of, so it's not much of a worry. In comparison to that, we have a malignant tumour. This is different to a benign tumour in the sense that it can spread around the body and invade healthy tissues. So for example, if our tumour here were to grow inside tissue X, what could happen is small fragments or pieces of this tumour could be broken up and they'd be transported around the body in the blood or through the lymphatic system. So they'll travel along in the lymphatic system or the blood, and what will happen is they'll lodge themselves into tissue or organ Y, for example. So already we've seen that the tumour cells have gone from X to Y, unlike the benign which stays in X. Once these cells have lodged themselves in Y, as we know tumours do, they will divide very, very rapidly without control via mitosis, and this will cause what we know to be a secondary tumour. Unlike the benign tumour, the malignant tumour is a cancerous tumour. So when we're talking about cancer in the body, we're usually referring to a malignant tumour. So overall, benign tumours stay in a certain tissue, and a malignant tumour will go from one tissue to another and invade healthy tissues, and this is a process known as metastases. Go. So now let's talk about the different causes of cancer, and we've got four main causes that we're going to talk about in this video. So first of all, we have genetic risk factors. So these are genes that have been inherited from parent to child, and they increase the risk of cancer. Unfortunately, because these are inherited genes, there's obviously not much that we can do about them. Genetic risk factors increase the risk of certain cancers, namely ovarian, breast, and prostate cancer. Second of all, we have carcinogenic chemicals. So a carcinogen is any chemical that can cause a cancer. Okay, so two prime examples that we've all probably seen in our everyday lives is asbestos. So this is a harmful chemical found in the roofs of our houses, and when inhaled it can cause damage and cancers of the lung. And also in tobacco we have tar found in the cigarettes, and again this damages the lungs and increases the risk of lung cancer. Then we have ionizing radiation. Most commonly this is seen in the UV rays of the sun and in tanning beds, so this is why it's not advised to overuse tanning beds, and namely this carries out an increased risk of skin cancer, as you can see in this picture here. More scientifically, this is known as a melanoma. And finally, we have pathogenic infections. So certain pathogens can increase the risk of cancer in an organism. So here we have a pathogen called Agrobacterium tumefaciens, and in plants this causes an abnormal growth, as you can see in this picture, and these are called crown galls most commonly. What these crown galls do is they damage the stems and the roots, means that the plant cannot uptake and transport nutrients such as water, mineral ions and glucose around the body of the plant, which it usually would, and therefore this can stunt the growth of the plant and cause great damage to it. In humans, the most common pathogen that we see linked to cancer is HPV. So this is a viral pathogen. It stands for human papillomavirus, and this causes about 10 to 15% of all cancers in young women, and it increases the risk of cervical cancer. Alright, so to wrap up the video, we're going to talk about how cancers are treated in modern day medicine, and we're going to talk about two ways in this is done. So, first of all, we have chemotherapy. Chemotherapy is where chemicals are injected into the body, and what these chemicals do is they either stop the division of the cancerous cell via mitosis, and this prevents its growth and spread around the body, or they can cause cell death. So what I mean by this is these chemicals can cause the cancerous cell to kill itself, essentially. And this is a process known as apoptosis. And secondly, the second therapy used in medicine is radiotherapy. Here, cancer is destroyed by targeted and small doses of radiation, and this stops the cell division of the cancerous cell via mitosis. What this does is overall prevents the growth and the spread of the cancer around the body. Now, in both of these cases, we run the damage of human cells as well. So as we progress further, we're researching newer ways to find more specific versions of chemo and radiotherapy so that we can better target only the cancerous cells and cause less damage to the body itself. Alright guys, and with that, I'd just like to say thank you guys all for watching. Please make sure you hit like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and I'll see you guys soon.